Now let's study about the next important natural resource available on the earth and which is very important to all living things, that is water. We know water is very important and it is required by animals as well as plants to survive. Though nearly 3/4 of the earth is covered with water, the amount of fresh water that we can use is available in very small quantities in the rivers, lakes, ponds and under the ground. So you can see here in this slide there are different sources of water that are being shown over here. As I said earlier that nearly 3/4 of the earth is covered with water. The amount of fresh water that we can use is available in very small quantities in the river, lakes, ponds and under the ground. Now, as rainwater falls down on the earth, some of it seeps through the layers of soil and the rocks till it reaches the layer of non-porous rocks. It collects on top of these non-porous rocks. This forms a water table under the ground. Wells are dug to draw this water out, and when there is more rainfall, the water table gets higher. Sometimes it reaches the top of the ground, then it trickles out in the form of a spring. So as you can see in this slide, how much water is on the earth is the basic question over here. So it's in the ground, forms big oceans, and it is in our atmosphere. Then it's also in living things, as our body is made of mostly of water. Then water covers around about 71% of Earth's surface, and almost all of its 96.5% is salt water. Salt water has different kinds of salt in it, but mostly has sodium chloride, the same salt that we add to our food. Just 3.5% of the water on Earth is fresh water that we can drink, and most of that fresh water, 68%, is trapped in ice and glaciers. A third of the fresh water is in the ground, we call it groundwater, and the last 2% of fresh water is in the river, lake and streams. So a very small amount is in our atmosphere where it exists as water vapor. That's what clouds are made up of. So if we took all the water on earth and put it together, it would be a ball 860 miles wide. So that is all about water. So now we have seen the different sources of water and how much water is available on the earth. But how water is important? So water is very important for all living beings. It is required by animals as well as plants to survive. It is used by human beings for different activities such as cooking, washing, bathing, construction and farming. And even the flowing water, or when the water falls down from great heights, it is used to generate electricity in hydroelectric power stations. So this is how water is very important to all the living things. Let's study some properties of water. Now, pure water has no color, taste or smell. Then water is called as universal solvent because it dissolves many substances. Yes, it can dissolve n number of substances and therefore it is called universal solvent. It is a natural resource which is found in all three basic states of matter, that is liquid, solid and gaseous. So solid water is called ice, liquid is in the form of water itself, and the gaseous in the form of steam or water vapor. So basically when experiments are done, generally water is taken because it is a concrete example which is visible to our eyes, and it is applicable in day-to-day life. Water can absorb a lot of heat, and that is why water is valuable to industries. It is also used as coolant in vehicles. This property of water helps aquatic plants and animals for their survival. As well as water shows two different properties, that is cohesion and adhesion. So water tends to cluster together in drops. That is cohesive property seen, and that is why it can move through the roots and stem of plants and also through the tiny blood vessels in our body. As well as you must have observed that water droplets stick to our hands. It is the adhesive property of the water basically. So as I was talking about the property of cohesion, water tends to cluster together in drops. That is, this is a bonding of a high percentage of molecules sticking to neighboring water molecules through hydrogen bonds. So it helps pull water up to the microscopic vessels of plants. So like molecules bonding to each other, that is water attracting other water molecules, and that is why it can flow through the stems and roots of plants and also through the tiny blood vessels in our body. Similarly, if we talk about adhesion, adhesion is an attraction between molecules of different substances. So basically, it allows capillary action where plant roots draw water in and up a plant to the leaves where photosynthesis occurs. So as two different surfaces can bind together, this property of water is very useful.